It took a lot of effort. I feel like that's what we've been talking about since I got elected a few years ago. Like, it's always been on the table. We always knew that the Rules and Bylaws Committee would open up a process, and so once they did, we did everything within our power to, make sure South Carolina was in a good place, and we made the case, right? We did our application, and we made the case on why South Carolina should be first. And Representative Kirby was a big part of us making that case in D.C. back in May, and I think it went over really, really, really well.
Yeah, the reality of it is South Carolina is a perfect state to be first because of our geography. It's really kind of small media markets from an affordability standpoint. So these candidates, if we get 8 or 9 presidential candidates out there, if they had to go to a big, say, a Virginia or one of these big northeastern states or whatever to get their message across, where would they would be out of money before they got out of the first state. So this is an opportunity for candidates who maybe aren't on the top end of the fundraising on the front, coming in or wealthy or whatever, to be able to have an opportunity to make their case. In South Carolina is a diverse state, geographically, economically. So yeah, we just thought it was a kind of a no-brainer, and we tried to make that statement to the other parties that be.
There was a piece of political article by Jonathan Martin about South Carolina potentially diluting its influence by being first as opposed to being first in the South. I know we batted cleanup in 2020. What do you say to that? That we've since '92, the winner of the South Carolina primary has always ended up on the ticket. Mm-hmm. What do you think being first, does that risk us
not batting cleanup?
Yeah, not batting, or not voting for the eventual nominee?
I don't think that changes anything. I think our voters are the same. I think that we'll probably get a better opportunity to be introduced and spend time with all of the candidates. I don't think that it changes the way our voters are going to vote. I think that, it may... I just don't agree with that, right? Like, I think that it doesn't change anything, right? Because our voters are the same. The amount of attention we're going to get is going to increase substantially. So I think that it also helps us. But the way we voted isn't going to change because we're now at first in the lineup instead of third. The cleanup batter was a great place to be. Oh, well, that day is over. Now we're first at bat, and we're going to make sure we're going to make that work for us as well, just as good as being the cleanup batter.
And when we talk about other states, and I don't want you to pick any fights, but you can if you will, if you want to, I should say. Other people talk about the swing states like Georgia and North Carolina, which, what's your reaction to that? Because they already play such a huge role in the general election. What's your message when it comes to primary voters who get shut out of those general election decisions?
The Democratic primary is about Democrats everywhere, right? It's not about, Democrats who eventually elect a Democrat in November. Saying that only battleground states matter says that the Democrats across the country don't matter if they can't win in November. That's not what the primary is about. The primary is about listening to Democrats everywhere. And South Carolina going first also demonstrates that Democrats everywhere matter, right? Like, South Carolina, as we've already said, has served as a proxy for Democrats all across the country because we have picked the eventual nominee almost every time. So I really I disagree with that premise that, we should be spending our time in battleground states. Why? Does that help our nominee? Does that help battle test our nominee by being in communities, being in states where people mostly agree with them? No, they need to stump and they need to engage voters across the country, especially in places like South Carolina, where there are voters who are more center, voters who, as Roger already said, there's this diversity of thought, diversity of economics, diversity of race. They need to hear those. They need to hear from those voters as well.
Roger, think about that too. How about moderate Democrats versus progressive Democrats? There's a lot of discussion, especially with the President Mr. Arnold Beach, about going after all Democrats as being socialists and communists, and then talk about the rise of DSA. And how do you see South Carolina, now that it's first in the South, maybe say, cultivating a moderate Democratic nominee, but like, do you think that that's what is going to be coming out of South Carolina in 2028? A more moderate Democrat versus a progressive Democrat, just based on our electorate here?
So, I think we spend a lot of excess time talking about progressive versus moderate versus Republic. You know what I mean? I think that what you're going to see in South Carolina is you're going to see issues-driven candidates. So that I don't think anybody in this state is going to be approaching this as if, for instance, they want to see a progressive guy or they want to see a moderate guy. I think it's all going to be based on, just the quality of the issues that these candidates can represent and communicate. So I push back on the idea that Democrats have got to be either progressive or moderate or conservative. I don't think that's the case. I think that the public, the general public, I think that's a narrative that other people may spin about Democrats, but I do not think that that's the heart of where we're going in this state.
Even with more moderate, conservative?
So again, is it an issues-driven point? Correct? So, for instance, infrastructure, healthcare, roads, protecting our agricultural communities, protecting our business communities, taxes, all those things now, are those progressive? Are they moderate? Are they conservative? Does it matter? That's my point. And I do think that the whole idea, I personally have not really seen too much of the narratives here about, we're called communist by the Republican Party. Come on, really? We're out fighting for issues that matter to everyday South Carolinians, and I don't, the labeling is just it's just not necessary, and it's not helpful.
And Crystal, wrapping up, when we talk about the importance of being first in the nation now, again, reiterating where we were in 2024, a bit different than 2024, wide open. What's the party going to be doing in order to make sure that we make the splash, make that impact? You're already doing the on-the-road stuff with these pseudo-nominees coming through, these national figures. What can we expect more than a year out now from this situation to see when it comes to what this primary is going to look like? How it might be different from primaries in the past?
The biggest difference, of course, is going to be that this will be competitive, right? Because we don't have a Democratic president, but we're going to absolutely continue with our On the Road series that's committed to taking these pseudo-nominees, pseudo-candidates across the country, across the state, to some of our most rural places. But we're going to also stand up some more events, forum-type deals, so that folks have an opportunity to talk to as many voters as possible. So I think that we're going to have a big First in the Nation calendar, number one. We're going to build some infrastructure around First in the Nation so that the candidates can come in and have a place to engage these voters.
Who's next in coming to the state, and how many candidates do you think will ultimately do?
Oh, we've got another announcement coming on Monday.
Oh, come on, tell us now.
Nope. Nope. We'll let you know on Monday.